Buddy, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Meet the Critters. And we have Josh with us today. And so this one isn't a In the Backwoods episode. This is just a regular generic episode. But more than likely we'll end up in the backwoods by the end of this. For sure.
We stay in the backwoods.
Yeah, we pretty much. Yeah, we come out for this. Like, this is what we're here for. And then we just go back. But yeah. So what's going on, Josh? How's everything going?
Not too bad. Just been a week of organizing and getting stuff done and home office stuff set up and things moved around, some spice orders ready to go and out in the mail, and
there you go.
Showed up on a podcast. So
right, yeah.
Computer work.
I do have a great idea for your new podcast studio. I think you should go to a junkyard and find a Ford Fiesta and just cut the top off of it. And put it in that closet.
A podcast studio inside of a room. Just replicate this interior.
Just have it be like this, but it's still just convenient for you. Like, you're in your house, so it's convenient.
It'd probably be easier for me to do it with like fucking wire and foam and like paint it to look. But yeah,
but no, you could do that too.
Hey, know, I bet I could actually take some pictures and put it on a green screen behind me.
Exactly.
That's actually probably easier. I can play the green screen on StreamYard. So yeah, I should take some pictures without me in the car at this exact angle and then just post those up behind me. Yeah, it's a great idea, actually. Just for nostalgia's sake. We can just do a car episode every once in a while.
He's at it already. I'm here for the
horsetail. Man, Ari, we can't make it.
Woo!
2 minutes. 2 minutes into the podcast without the horsetail. But that's what's up with me, not a horsetail. So what about you, Kyle?
I was so happy on Brian and Corey's live anniversary episode of him having to like push off what a horsetail was live on air. That made my week. It really did.
On an anniversary discussion.
On an anniversary discussion, he had to go, no, I will explain that later. No one needs to know about this.
No, not tonight, honey. Not tonight. Oh.
But no,
so
things are good around here.
What have you been up to?
Crazy busy. Just running around doing everything. Did a beef this week, had some family in town. And building fence. We started the big pig pasture project. So now that I've started, I can't stop, unfortunately, but fortunately. It was one of those projects where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do it this year, but I really want to. Right. But I don't have the time to breathe. So let's add another massive fencing project. But no, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be like a 4-part kind of series on the YouTube channel of the different processes of it. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to break it up, but I am, because I'm also, if I'm just going to be doing the same exact thing that I was doing in this last video I put up, you don't need to watch me stretch 3 different sides of woven wire. It needs to be different.
No. Yeah, you're going to do something a little bit mixed up, but hey, that's cool.
No, we're probably going to do like an electric fence episode, like running that, even though I had a dunce moment yesterday with that, but we're figuring it out.
Some struggles, but you had some people working their way through it with you. Yeah. I was kind of tied up, and I caught up with that towards the tail end. I'm like, damn, it's like some hardcore. Well, there was some bullshit.
Oh, we had some serious like electric fence talk going on.
Oh yeah,
and then I'm just an idiot, and I'm learning as I go along. And it was like, oh, throw a bucket of water on the ground. Well, there you go. Now I'm back to 100%. Like, thank God it was that easy, because I was literally sitting inside, like, while I'm putting my kids to bed going, I have to tear apart and move my entire system. Like, that's where my head was going, of like fixing
including underground wires.
Pulling underground wires, doing everything.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I guess I might as well throw a bucket of water on it and see what happens. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, thank God. But yeah, so I got to thank that deer that ran through all my electric fences this winter, because it inspired me to keep going on. So speaking of deer, today we were doing an episode on whitetail deer.
Oh
So
no,
I know. So I know most people consider it something like just a wild game that is in most of the woods around this country.
at
But
least the
there's
eastern part. Yeah,
yeah, and a lot of people might not know is there's a fairly big commercial market for whitetails and I mean all types of deer, especially down by Josh's way. Like the deer farming market is huge, and I mean that's for meat
it's
when it
huge.
comes to like
It's niche, but pricey niche. But and the regulatory shit is a little hinky. But
yeah, that's an
why
odd one. That's because that's what I was looking up too when I was doing research on it. It's like one article literally said like the
there's a lot of
history
gray
of deer
area.
farming is not long. It is not a long history. Like
No,
it is at the
no.
infant stages.
There's it's hard regulation wise because you have agencies that don't play well with each other like down here. So you've got like
No.
Fish and Wildlife, it's managed over here, and then agriculture's managed over here, and we kind of separate those two. But
Right.
then what happens when we just want to start racing these? Well, they've been traditionally not allowed to, but now there's like permit systems, and like people can have their
Right.
own kind of high fenced closed areas, and they can manage their herd within them. So they can cull a certain amount and they can stock a certain amount with permits from the state. So a lot of times they will bring in the best genetics they can get, which often come from northern states for body size or other states for antler size, and they try to just mix and match genes, and it's very much like cattle breeding.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I was thinking about it today when we were. Yeah, I was thinking about it today when I was like looking up stuff, but just like the fact that usually like on the show when you're breaking down something, it's like this is the breed, these are the body like characteristics, size, weight, height. That's pretty much that's the point of the breed. That's what they're going to get to. With
they're
whitetails,
going to conform to that pretty well. Yeah.
Right. With whitetails, yes, they're all whitetail deer, but you go to Alberta, you're getting a deer that's 300 something pounds, and then you go down to Key West and they're 100. You pick them up by the scruff of the neck. What is that?
I think
it's Rumen's Law. Is that
the average whitetail doe, like mature adult whitetail doe down here, weighs 90 to 100 pounds live on the hoof?
Yeah, because same thing. Like whitetail does up here, you're usually looking at a decent, like fairly mature doe. You're looking at like 130 to 150 pound carcass.
Yeah.
Like depending on if you get a decent sized doe,
now, see,
but it's usually right around 120 to 100.
So on the hoof, she's probably 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So about double the size of down here.
Yeah.
Well, I know the last deer that I drug out of the woods in northern Iowa was 7.5 years old on his way downhill and recovering from a car accident after we looked at his ankle. He had shed an antler from the stress about like 2 months early. So I shot him while he was laying down. Drug him out of the woods though. So he wasn't in the best shape. He was an older deer on the decline. And he was 175 pounds live. And then I come down here and I've got guys like bringing in respectable fucking whitetails at 125 pounds live. And you're wondering, why do you shoot Bambi? I had no idea. People were bringing in does. And I was like, why did they shoot a fawn? Why doesn't that fawn have spots? Because they're so small compared to north. But if you think about it, there's so much more evolutionary pressure on a wild species like that. That's why cattle actually vary quite a bit because they come from different regions. So if you are a 250 pound giant deer and you're in Southeast Texas and it's 95, 100 degrees every single day, how long do you think you're going to make it? How can you maintain that body mass? That's a huge heat sink. You're not going to be able to keep cool. So you notice all the desert creatures like chihuahuas, they're going to be lightweight, small, big giant ears.
That's what you picked for the first desert creature you could think of was chihuahua.
Yes. So think about a chihuahua compared to most other dogs.
I get it. No, you're absolutely right.
Small, tiny, big ears, shed heat easily. Fennec fox, that same type thing. But then,
chihuahuas
haven't been easy. So how easy is it for a freaking 120 pound scrawny little freaking whitetail buck to plow his way through a fucking 6-foot snowdrift in Minnesota or New Hampshire. He's got to have body mass. He has to have body mass to maintain his internal core temperature. So they evolve based on their climate. So there's a huge diversity of whitetails all the way across the United States.
No, but that's what I was saying. That's Rumen's law. It's whatever is like when you're in the northern climates, they're bigger because they have more surface area. Or no, they have less surface area and they're bigger. And down in the Keys,
so they maintain their
down in southern states like that, they have more surface area because they're smaller. So they're able to dissipate or keep in heat easier. Yeah, but no, I mean, from a farming situation, absolutely. Why wouldn't you bring in a tanker from friggin' Minnesota or Wisconsin?
Yeah, especially if you've got ponds and stuff like that and ways to help, facilitate that property to make it a little bit easier for them to maintain themselves. They don't have to go compete in the wild. You basically, if you're raising them in a can, you created your own zoo.
Right, exactly. I mean,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, if you took that same deer and just threw him, just opened up the trailer and we're like, there you go, he'd probably live, but it would be rough.
But it'd be a generation or two. You wouldn't really recognize that deer. They would evolve to pretty much be like the local population.
Right.
It wouldn't take long.
Yeah,
happens
from
really
a farming situation, bringing that in is that's perfect. But
right. Well, I get why guys do it because they put a lot of money into it. They don't necessarily want the outside herd's influence. That's why they high fence it. Or a lot of these guys raise exotics too that they don't want getting out. They're raising aoudad. They're raising axis deer is really common down here, or black buck.
Yeah. That's on my bucket list. I want to get a black buck for some reason. I mostly just want to do the skull. I mostly just want to do the skull. That's pretty much what I want.
Yeah. I mean, Mike, they're an antelope. They're all right.
Yeah,
just a funny looking goat.
Pretty much.
Fast goat.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I looked up, it basically started at the turn of the century, when it came to farming these things, just because, and it was mostly in the U.S. just because of the decline in population. By that point, 100 years ago, there were no whitetail deer. There were almost no turkeys.
Back. Yeah, because they were hunted almost to extinction. And I think
hunting and all that.
So there's a tie-in there where I know people get it into the ethical dilemmas when it comes to hunting and game farms and zoos and things like that too. We should just leave nature alone. And for the most part, I agree. But when something is that close to the brink of extinction, it's because of something that we've done, like overpressure from hunting. Facilitating it in some ways like that are profitable actually really does help the species. Now whitetail are everywhere, and we have huge genetic pools for them to be able to pull from to be healthy because of guys who are breeding deer, because guys who are making money on it as a business breeding good deer. And we've got a lot of pressure from hunters now to help conserve a lot of these areas just so hunting stays alive. Most people aren't living on it now. I mean, it's a nice boon if you have some in your freezer. Most people are not relying on, we get all of our food from hunting. That'd be pretty hard to do. And if everybody relied on that, we wouldn't be able to do it. That's why we have agriculture.
Right.
So, it's an interesting thing where it's sometimes you do actually have to raise these animals to be able to conserve the wild counterparts, to be able to preserve enough genetic diversity to help facilitate that, keep it alive, because the pressures that we have already put on it or continue to put on it just by having civilization don't really give it an edge at all. So, and I can tell you right now, those deer that are in captivity, they are so spoiled. They're not scared of people at all. They're walk right up to your hand. They're
living the best lives possible. Yeah, that's essentially what
they have. They have no natural. They actually have an incentive to be protected. These guys are trying to keep predators out. They don't even have to worry about normal things a deer has to worry about, getting eaten by a bobcat tonight. They're just eating good and living it up until one day.
Financial on it, think of it the amount of money that people spend on if you've got a tanker typical deer. People will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for that sperm to AI.
Oh, yeah.
There is a whole registry for all this. They think there are multiple registries And then it's gotten to the point now where it's even like on some of like the record books and stuff like that, they've had to have their completely separate record keeping because it's like they're growing out such big, beautiful deer that it's like, yes, we have to point out that this is a thing, but we also can't put it over the guy that's been hunting this same spot for 7 years and finally got this deer. So it's like,
so you can't. So the way they classify a lot of these, like just by measurements of antlers, because that's big in Texas, like, you know, as far as taxidermy side of things. I can go out and hunt what we call low fence deer, wild deer. And if I shot something that would measure 175, 180 points on the way that basically Boone and Crockett scale or whatever, that's a damn good wild low fence deer, and it would be considered like exceptional up north. Now down here though, I could also look over the fence at a couple of high fences and even like right behind where I live, and I could see deer that would measure 275, 300 all day long.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that is not a deer you're going to encounter in the wild unless there was a hole in the fence and somebody's looking for him. You know?
Well, of course. Yeah, but it also is just crazy. Like
that is selective breeding to make that happen.
There's
just no doesn't happen in the wild because there's not really that much evolutionary advantage to having an antler set that big and complicated, you know. And none of these guys are typical either. They're like just stickers everywhere and just like
everywhere.
Just
mutants. Like
I went back. I helped deliver some containers back to a place that was working, or they were bringing all their stuff to the processor I was at, and they had a whitetail operation like this. And while we were delivering it back there, they had their own taxidermy barn where they did like their own European mounts and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I saw all the skulls sitting there in line on the bench they were working on, and every single one of them was like at least 30 points per side. Just
that's so crazy.
Wild. And it's all from the same property. And that place, not the place that's behind me, that place is about 10 miles down the road from my place. So there's a lot of them in Texas.
Yeah. So like that's definitely like the mass of whitetail farming. In New England, in the country. But what I would say is the other one is the scent market. Like people getting scents, like lures and urine and stuff like that. Because that's another massive industry that people don't think about.
And I imagine a lot of guys who are raising them for breeding or whatnot are also capitalizing into that too. Because why not? You know, you've already got them.
Right. Yeah. So that's another huge market for it. Something I didn't think about but makes complete sense is that their breeding cycles are the exact same as they are in the wild. Like they don't just kind of get into it like a cow or anything like that, where it's like, I can go into heat a couple times, blah blah blah. Nope, it's still a whitetail. It's still
stuck. It's still fall into winter, and that's their breeding season. Yeah. Now axis deer are weird. Theirs is based on, I think, when they were born. Like it can vary, and they'll go in the rut twice a year. So it's weird. So it's like you'll randomly have axis that are in rut in like June. And there are some wild axis in Texas too.
I was gonna say there just is now. Like that's just they're there. They're never leaving.
You ever to like the hill country or West Texas? They just live there. Out here, you'll occasionally see one if you're really deep out in the woods, and it's a rare thing to see. There have been elk as well, but it's not common to see them. Whitetails are freaking everywhere. Like they run in front of your car in the middle of fucking summer. You know, during the rut you expect it, but like even during the summer, I constantly have deer trapped down the road.
Yeah, I think New Hampshire is either one or two lowest success rates in the country for whitetail.
Wow, really?
Yeah, man, it's tough.
They're smaller down here, but they're about as plentiful as they were up in Iowa, and that was middle of
a cornfield. So
it's like perfect environment for deer to just replicate.
Yeah, there are deer here for sure, but the problem is the southern part of the state, even though it is still fairly wooded, it's just so populated that like one of the main Unit M, which anyone from New Hampshire who's listening to this and hears Unit M, they all get like a shiver down their spine because that's like the main unit that you can only use no rifle, only shotgun, and archery is the biggest.
Mhm.
But then you get up north, and it's like up to where I'm at. There's a pretty decent success rate. I think we did. I'm not even going to try to guess because I know I'm wrong. What it was last year, but every now and then though, someone just pulls a monster that no one's seen. Like that happens a lot up here. If there's a monster shot in Texas, someone knows about it. Like someone is aware that animal exists.
Probably they've been watching it. They've seen it on a camera somewhere. Yeah,
exactly. What's going on over here in the chat?
Oh yeah.
Haas says YouTube notifications suck. Can you doe hunt too? Yes, we only get like a day. I think my unit gets 2 days, but that's the most. You can apply for one more doe tag, but that's it.
So like down here, we have a doe season, which is shorter than where you can shoot. Right. You can shoot bucks during doe season, but most people, the way I see it, if they want to game it, they're smart. They get their does first, and then they can watch the bucks and kind of pick them. And you know what? They've got more time. Everybody wants to go fill the buck tags, and then they don't have time to get their doe. So that goes for like 2 months.
Yeah, no,
we a little bit longer. If you have excuse me, if you have an archery tag, you can squeeze another month out of that, and then you have about another month and a half, 2 months of buck season. But that is just regular public land hunting or your own land or whatever. Right. If you are on what they call an MLD program, which is like the state helps you manage your deer population on your land because it's like a big ranch. We have enough of them that are like 100,000 acre ranches where they have their own individual, basically private closed herd that lives on there.
Right.
So they'll try to manage that, and a lot of times in a high fence too. If they're a big one, that makes sense for them. So they'll come in and they'll do a survey.
And call the herd a little
bit. They'll do a survey and say, okay, so here's how much you have for a herd. Here's how much you need to kill, basically to cull down. And usually it's a high amount of does. So these guys will get a hunt from like beginning of bow season with rifles all the way till like end of February, and they'll have issued to the land a certain amount of tags that are in excess to whatever. You can fill the tags on your hunting license that come with your license, but these are belong to the land. So they just hand out tags. They're begging anybody who's licensed to come shoot these does because we need to kill enough of these to be able to maintain our MLD status for next year for whatever reason, because they get some tax credit or something. So they're begging people, like giving away tags, come to my place and shoot does. Like that's how many deer we have down here.
Yeah, with bow, all season you can take either buck or doe, and that goes till the end of rifle. Rifle, like I said, in my unit, you only get 2 days. So like when I was still requesting like time off from work, that like I made sure I had the first 2 days off. I've never shot a deer. Like I've never like got a deer. I didn't grow up in it. So like the past couple of years, I've been hitting it hard trying to get one. And I'm like, I don't care if it has spots. It's going in the freezer.
If it's down, it's down, baby.
I don't care. I'll get the hands, whatever I can get off of it.
Oh, shit. Just frying the whole thing and cook it like a ham.
Exactly.
I've done that twice.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't have anywhere near the season you guys have down there. But we don't have the agriculture
but
that you guys have.
You've also, well, if you think about it too, it's our season, our climate has a lot to do with it. So you guys got such a hard winter. It's like there's a narrower window of when it makes sense for people to actually be out there, or for the wildlife still to be fucking moving. Here, the majority of deer season from beginning of October to the end of February is in the 70s. Yeah. And when it does get cold, it's for like a month and a half, and it might freeze a couple times.
Right.
So
and you guys aren't hunting because your entire state's shut down.
right. I just go out and hunt in the evenings, or they go out and they just hunt on the weekend. Some guys have leases and stuff, and they go and they take a week to go hunt and shit like that, you know. But it's a lot more open and a lot more I think it actually gives a little bit more options for folks because you have like 5 or 6 guys that really like to hunt and they work at the same place. They can all afford to take a week off if they schedule them back to back. You know,
Right.
what happens when hunting season rolls around? It's 3 days and your whole town shuts down.
Yeah, man, it's nuts. Like, it's pretty nuts. But
so
I'm hoping
I
this
like
year.
it. I mean, I
think it's up this year.
But I mean, I wish they weren't regulating seasons at all. But that's just me. But you know,
Right.
it just makes my job.
Part of me gets it. Part of me, I do understand. I think they're expanding.
I do understand why, but
someone told me that they're expanding our bear season because our population is through the goddamn roof. So hopefully I can snag one of those.
Nice.
I've got
this year they changed on me because like a process, so I have to keep up. Like they don't send out like a letter, like by the way, guys who process, here's the new changes. You have to go look it up. I'm glad I did because they started issuing. So when you get a license, you have a certain amount of deer tags that come with the license, and you tear those off and you use those. And once it's a one-time use type thing.
Yeah.
So we know that system. The guys who've been doing this, we understand that system because we want to keep it straight. We have to keep our record book for the state. Well, they added an electronic license and tagging system.
Yeah, they did that with us too.
So their electronic thing was basically like you get your electronic license that you can pull up and show on your phone, and then you can use the app to log your animal that you've killed, and then it will spit out a serial number, and you have to handwrite the serial number on the tag and attach it to the animal. And then, if you get stopped by a game warden, they want to see your app. And I'm like,
what are we doing here?
So why are we doing this? And second of all, so that as the processor, who it's my duty to make sure your animal's tagged, or it's on me if I take it, you're bringing this to me and you're literally giving me the dog ate my homework. I have a handwritten note on my deer. I swear this is legit. Here's the number. I can't take that shit.
Dead, I can't. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, I can't verify that. So at that point, it kind of in my mind clicked too. I'm like, well, I guess if anybody shows up and they have a fake number, then it's on the game warden to deal with and not me. Yeah. Like it's not my fault now because I can't. How am I supposed to verify that? You guys didn't give me a mechanism to do so.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
I'm
okay.
I'm so anal about that. I have. Yeah. Because the tag
I keep good records on all the tags. Yeah, I keep records on all the tags. It's easy to do once you get in the rhythm of it.
Well, we have. You guys don't have registration stations, right?
Some places do for the chronic wasting disease. They kind of
full registration.
Depends on.
So you have to go and get the little metal.
And now, if you do it in a restricted county because of CWD, which thankfully I'm not in yet. You do have to go to a registration station first. Sometimes they will set up near a major processor to make it easier. But I do believe if you hunt federal land, like San Houston National Forest and shit like that, that's out here, some of those that are like state or federal owned, you have to do a check-in for what you hunted on public land.
Right.
So, but it's usually like you go in and they'll do like a brain sample and they'll just like record your shit and send you on your way. So, and then sometimes we get folks that will take their shit to a taxidermist first and drop off the head, and a taxidermist may just break it down for them or whatnot, put it in an ice chest, and they bring it to me. So I'll have like a transfer paper. So, we know what that shit looks like, but it's a pain in the ass. It's government bullshit. But at the same time, while I'm not a fan of government bullshit and the regulation and the taxing and everything like that, I understand why they do it. And as far as the wild game side goes, the paperwork I have to keep and that I have to keep up with to be straight with the law is way less intensive than some of the other fucking like more ag versus shit. It's not hard.
Nothing. I don't have.
I'm not even gonna fight it because it doesn't cost me money to even do their paperwork. I just have to keep a fucking 3-ring binder and staple some shit together. That's it. So
I essentially just keep all my cut sheets and the tags on that with name, number, address, and
we literally have a PDF. We literally have a PDF that you can download online. That this is your check-in cooler log with all their name and address shit. And every place I've ever worked at, all we ever did was filled out the date, filled out the name, fill out the hunting license number, how many deer, take their fucking physical tag, which is like a tear-off strip, staple it next to it, and that's it. And then our cut sheet's a whole different thing. That's all in house. So there's literally a 3-ring binder full of tags and all of the login information with dates, and I just have to keep it for a year after the date, just in case they ever need to come and figure out what went on with some odd report from like 6 months back.
Yeah. No, I know I do more than a lot of people in this area, because I know there are just people that are
well,
just...
it depends on your state. It does depend on your state. Some states are more anal about it, and you have to talk to your local game warden and know what he's expecting too, because some guys will just be like super anal about shit. I mean, I know what they want in my area, and they've always held the times that they have dropped by. They didn't even go through my shit. They already knew what they were coming for, and they've spent more time talking about sausage. You know, it's if you're straight with them and you keep your shit straight, nobody really cares. You know,
well,
but
they're not like they're not there for us. Like,
they know the guys that are doing some shady shit and selling deer meat on the side and stuff like that. They know what's happening when they show up already. That's why they showed up. So they know who to watch and who's actually just playing straight. Yeah.
So I think he's talking about bears.
Yeah, as far as with he is.
Yeah.
Okay. There was more whitetail hunting after that. I gotcha.
Where are you, Haas? Like, where are you located? But no, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Somewhere with bears.
Well, the thing is, in Maine, which is 500 yards away from me, baiting's still legal. Dogs are still legal. Trapping is still legal. Like, you can still use leg snares. So Maine is bulls on parade. You can pretty much do whatever you need to do to get that bear.
Right.
Baiting is still legal here.
Right.
And I forget if Northern California. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. I get that. Same issue Golden Crickets was dealing with the other day. Just California shit.
Well, same with like the mountain lions too. They were like, nope, can't kill them, and then they're still killing the same amount. They're just the government's paying someone to do it. It's fine.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it's
literally when we were talking about deer, I was just about to say, like, Fish and Game is the one kind of organization that I'm like, I kind of understand why this, and then all of a sudden we go to California.
I will say for the most part, they do less of a bad job. I would say they do less of a bad job than most other government agencies, probably because they have a more low-stress job, and there's probably less bloat and crap in those organizations. There's more shot callers on the ground. Yeah. It's more decentralized. And guess what? That's the other thing. Fish and Game is managed where? On the state level. So there's 50 different fish and game organizations around the country.
And they're all there.
Versus there's no federal regulation on fish and game. Well, outside of some coastal fishing shit. But for the most part, there's not really any federal oversight when it comes to that, other than like the Endangered Species Act and shit like that. So that helps a lot, that they keep their greedy little fingers out of it, because they just make everything complicated and impossible to manage.
Right.
So most of when it comes to fish and wildlife, the majority of it that I've experienced, it's like a county has 1 or 2 DNR officers and they run their show.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If you've got a shit one, your life's gonna suck. But if you got one that's pretty chill and he knows you ain't gonna make his life hard, it's almost mafia mentality. Honestly, it's the whole "hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours."
Officer I've dealt with,
it's a good old boy.
Fantastic. Like, I haven't met a bad one yet, honestly.
No, I haven't really run into it. I've had one that scared the shit out of me once when I was a kid, but
as they're prone to do,
an oddball thing. I told him off a little bit, actually. Now that I think about it, I was out rabbit hunting on public land and just walking around with a shotgun, just walking around out in open field, snow on the ground, and this dude stands up from behind a freaking bush with a ghillie suit and a rifle, and he's just like, "Hey." I'm like, what the? I turn around and like my shotgun's pointed at him, because there's a dude with a rifle and a ghillie suit that just popped up and said, "Hey," and he's like, "Hey, I'm a game warden," and I'm like, "Show me some fucking ID, or put the gun down." Holy shit, dude, And he's like, "What?" So I mean, everybody chilled out. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm cool. I'm just a game warden. Want to check your license?" I was like, you should probably not scare the shit out of me when I'm walking around looking for rabbits and I got a shotgun. I'm like, I'm just worried about your safety, dude. That seems risky.
Yeah, you don't do that.
And I'm like, dude, don't just pop up on a guy that's got a gun. That's just, I'd hate for you to get hurt, dude. That would be tragic, And we go down in the news that some guy murdered a game warden. Like, you might have just spooked the guy, You don't know what these guys are on out here.
No, not at all.
But yeah, he was pretty chill. But I was like, man, just don't scare a guy like that, man.
Yeah, exactly. It gets interesting. At least I think it's like two or three people get shot every year in New Hampshire during hunting season.
Yeah, stuff happens, and it's always something stupid too. It's like it's as sad as it is. There are guys out there that are just dumb and probably shouldn't be hunting that will. And I don't want to be the person that says I decide who can and can't hunt, but I feel like these people know they probably shouldn't be, because if you shot a horse thinking it was a deer, or you accidentally shot a guy running through the woods because you thought it was a deer, you shouldn't be shooting deer because you don't know what a deer is. If you can't pick your target, please don't pull the trigger.
We had that like 10 years ago. A woman ran out, like an older woman, like in her 60s, ran out because she saw dudes in her back 40 or whatever, like walking across, and she went running out, and she was wearing a brown sweatshirt and put on her white gloves.
Well, now
wave them down. So anyone who doesn't know why they're called whitetail deer is because they have white tails, and when they're running, their tails go straight up in the air. And if you see them crossing over each other, it looks a lot like someone doing this.
Here's the deal: if you're ever seeing a white-tailed deer flagging like that, that means with their tail, that means they're running away from you, and you shouldn't be shooting them.
You should shoot at them anyway. Right.
Never shoot a deer running away from you. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a hard line there. I've cut up enough of these bastards that they call it the Texas hard shot. I shot it up the ass. All you did was explode deer shit all over your meat.
Everything.
It's just, you ruined like 70% of your deer.
You should have just left it. You should have cut the head off and left it.
You should have just not even shot the damn thing at that point.
Right.
Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So it's like, yeah, please don't ever shoot that white flag as it's. So it's idiotic to begin with from the hunting perspective, but then the fact that you had that little understanding of what you're actually pulling the trigger on, I don't want to ever talk shit about firearms ownership or about hunters. I'm a huge supporter of both cultures.
Yeah.
But we have to admit there are morons out there.
I agree.
So I agree. Be careful. You got to be careful.
Yeah. I've gotten so picky about my deer customers at this point because I have the luxury to, which is so nice. But I only do deer for 2 weeks a month, 2 weeks a year, maybe 3 if I'm slammed.
Right.
Because my livestock business, my livestock business is so busy.
It's not worth it for me to.
I've gotten to the point now where I don't take in skun out deer, and I charge
because you already know it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I charge for if there's any gutting that I have to do, if the asshole isn't cut out of it, if the trachea is not cut out of it, I charge, because you know what? I'm still slammed. Like, I'm only doing it 2 weeks. I'm slammed.
You're still busy. It's still more work for you, and that's inevitably involves more cleanup, because the longer those things stay in the animal, you're going to have to trim around it. There's going to be work to actually make sure that meat's safe and clean. You leave the asshole in the animal. It's not just a matter of cutting the asshole out. It's about also trimming away the frickin' meat that's starting to turn, that's been in contact with that for however long it's been, and we'll know. You can tell by the texture and the smell.
It's not even that. You've cut the intestine off. So now there's just 6 inches of just loose intestine with those fun little cocoa pellets in there that are all of a sudden just going to be rolling around your deer. Yeah. It kills me. It absolutely kills me. I've looked at some people and go,
call them deer berries.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to eat this? Like, this is bad before I even touch it. Like, I need to point out to you right now everything that's wrong with this situation before I even touch it, and it's my responsibility. Or I'll just tell them to leave. I'm like, nope, I did that last year.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that a couple of times where I'm like, yeah, I can't take that. Sorry, it's not. I'm not going to be responsible for anybody eating that from right, and
No.
not having touched it yet.
Yeah, I'd rather take the bad
Yep.
review because I know of everyone
Because
who's
it's one. Yeah.
yeah.
If it's one in a sea of good reviews, it's pretty evident that somebody just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So it happens.
So
It happens. That's just part of it. Yeah, you have to have standards. That's the thing. At the end of the day, like you said, you're responsible.
So Haas, over do we use everything? Have you tanned hides?
I really don't tan hides. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think before the show we were bullshitting. But no, I really don't get into hide tanning. I've always thought about it. Like for a deer or something, I would. It's a little bit involved when it comes to beef and kind of expensive, and there's not really any money in doing it. So, I just don't have the time to get into it.
Yeah,
but if I was going to tan anything, I would probably start with a deer hide because the deer hide is just a lot softer, more malleable, easier to work with. Antlers, I don't go out of my way to use them for a bunch of stuff, but if they have appreciable antlers and somebody doesn't want the skull, I'll keep them for knife handles or just stuff for around the house. I don't ever throw little stub antlers and stuff away. I think they're cool. But most of the time, if they have decent antlers, a customer that brings it to me, they want their head back or they're taking it somewhere to get it mounted or something. So
yeah, no, exactly. I have everything. I could start tanning hides tomorrow. I have no idea how to tan hides. Before we had our second kid, I was hot and heavy of I'm going to learn to tan hides, and that's what I'm going to do as an added side profit. And then I was like, there is no way I am tanning hides as a side profit. There's no way.
There's no profit in it right now. There really isn't, sadly.
No, I would have done it for decoration and stuff like that, for someone to put some guy from Massachusetts to come up and put in their cabin.
But then you talk to the guys who do. I know several taxidermists around here, and they don't even do their own tanning. They outsource them to a tannery because it's so involved. And even they were like, I've tanned a few hides just learning it. And they're like, I won't ever mess with it. I can't make money doing it. It's such a huge time investment to really get it done. I mean, I think tanning hides is an amazing thing. I think more people should do it. I think it's out of reach right now because of the industry.
I want to learn how to do it.
I'd love to learn. It just, in a world where you really need good quality leather as a survival type thing, there is a market and it's profitable because it needs to be. But right now, it's just cheap leather from Brazil and Argentina is killing it. It's killing it. You could go. I could go buy a cowhide on the side of the road from some dude out of a truck for $200 all day long, not having a problem doing so. I cannot get a full-size cow tanned for less than $800 to $900.
No,
and that's having a business-to-business rate. That's working directly with a tannery.
Yeah. No, it's nuts.
So
yeah, no, like I said, I want to learn it for the aspect of it's not profitable, but for people like us that are just in this industry.
Now it can be profitable if you get to the side of mounted taxidermy. If you're doing the artwork there, a lot of those guys who are actually doing the shoulder mounts and stuff, they are making good money.
Oh, they're making all the money.
But it takes skill to get there, because I know you've seen some bad taxidermy too.
Jesus. Yeah, that's I have people every year because I did the European mounts for so many years.
Yeah. They always have that's a whole different level of
so long that everyone's like, so when are you going to start doing regular taxidermy? I'm like, never, ever, ever. No.
That is so involved. I know guys that they do about the same volume of mounts per year as I did at the old processor I worked at. Actually processing deer. So they do probably about 2,000 to 4,000 mounts a year. But they have a team of 5 or 6 people that work for them, and they spread it out. They're busy all year long. They do check-ins for 3 months, and sometimes they don't get finished before next year start coming in.
Right. No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I can smell this comment.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, I'm triggered.
Yeah. This happens. I'm triggered.
This does happen. I've lived that. I have lived that. At least once every deer season. I've had that
Oh,
experience.
absolutely. But
And people mean well, they do. But
they
I'm
do.
sorry,
They really
guys.
do.
Leaving
Like,
the
I'm
poop
proud
in
of
the
them.
deer
I'm proud
makes.
of them for getting out there and doing it. But God damn it,
But
did you really have to put it in a
seriously,
scented garbage bag?
putting it in the garbage bag, first of all, will probably not keep it from getting wet, because more than likely the bone on the end of that piece of meat is going to poke a hole in it. And
Right
how
through
many
it.
times have you taken a garbage bag out of the can and it's leaking stuff out of it already? They're not really that watertight. So what you did was make a bag for the water to get in and not be able to get out very easily. So they're almost always floating in balloons of little bitty water. And
Right.
when they have the deer turds on them, that means just each individual piece has marinated in its own deer poop soup instead of the whole deer poop soup that was rest of the cooler.
Right.
So yeah, you had micro marinades, sous vide
yeah.
poop marinades. That's what you accomplish with lilac.
Yeah, it's awful. But
This is why but that's why we have podcasts like this, trying to help.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's
because that's the problem that so many people don't know. They didn't they don't teach you in school how to actually do food safely. Like, you literally have to take courses on this shit now if you weren't raised at home. Until you get into like the restaurant industry or something, nobody tells you or takes the time to be like, here's how you handle food safely. Like, why isn't that something that we focus on in our government fucking education?
Yeah. Where'd home ec go? Nowhere. Or it's gone.
Why do we make guys actually take a course before they can get a hunting license, but we don't teach them how to actually break down and process the deer, even though we can ticket them for doing it wrong?
I am such a huge proponent of hang out. Like, during deer season, I bring chairs into the shop because I'm just like, hang out. Like, watch me. I don't care. Like, especially if because I usually line up all my drop-offs right at the same time, so I can just skin everything out and get it in the cooler all at once.
It's like probably 70% of the time, if I'm skinning a deer during deer season, I've got a crowd of 3 to 5 people around me, whether it's the family or just people from around there or whatnot. But people will show up, people come by just to bullshit and see what deer come get checked in and stuff, especially on opening weekends and stuff.
I have buddies that'll stop by because they're like, I know you're here. Like, I don't have to hunt you down and find you. I know you're right here skinning deer. Like, I know that I have a calendar. I know what day it is.
They'll come find you.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but it's a fun time. It's busy as shit, but it's a fun time. And people do learn a lot. And I love that. Last year I got a call from a lady that said, hey, I wanted to get deer processed with you. We got a review from somebody we know. We heard that you're the guy to bring stuff to. So we've got 2. It's my son's first deer. He dropped 2 doe back to back. So he filled both doe tags. I'm like, damn, nice. First deer, awesome. And I said, so have you just dropped them and you're just calling me now, or are they field dressed? What's the deal? And how far out are you? And she goes, well, we actually got one field dressed and that was fun. But we were about to start on the other one, and I figured I'd see if you were accepting any. And I said, oh, absolutely. How far away are you? And it turned out they're like 15 minutes away. I said, don't field dress the other one. I said, just throw it in the vehicle and bring it right over. If you guys just shot it, it'll be fine. I said, but what I'd like to do, I said, especially if your son is just learning, I said, when you come over, I will go ahead and skin the one you guys have field dressed, and we'll break that one down, get it out of the way. And then I'll start from the beginning, start to finish my way, how I would do it with the other untouched deer. And then you guys can learn my ways of doing it. And I'll show you some ways to kind of keep you out of the woods. And they sat there the whole time just enthralled. They were like absolutely loving it. They tipped me extra for just teaching them.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. Well, you don't have to do that, but it makes me happy that you actually are going to learn to not fuck this up, because
I always get that. Can I bring my kids? Is it all right if I bring my kids? I'm like, of course.
Please bring your kids, please.
Yeah, of course. I want everyone to see this and like know it.
Yeah, that's the problem, and it's also I get asked all the time, when are you going to teach a class on this? I'm like, it's hard because I can't guarantee I'm going to have a deer to demonstrate on.
No,
I can't just like fart out a deer.
We have a red deer farm right by us that I've thought about talking to about.
What I considered doing at one point was putting on a workshop where I'd have like maybe 4 or 5 carcasses for people to work on, and actually, kind of follow along and get the experience, and then be able to take it home. But actually, just use domestic goats, because if a goat is the
it's the
same
same thing.
exact as doing a deer. Like if you can do a goat, you can do a deer.
Right.
So,
No, that's a
and
good
we
idea,
just break
too.
them down exactly the same way. So I think that would be the legal way to maybe pull it off. That's the hard part. It's like you can't just go, I'm going to get a deer tomorrow. It's still hunting.
Bang! All right, here we go. Here's a class.
Yeah, exactly. Can't
I mean, you
schedule a
can.
class and sell
frowned
tickets
upon.
based on. I can't really sell class tickets and be like, hey guys, we're going to have you guys over and show you how I break down a deer when I shoot one.
Right.
It's going to be sometime between now and a month and a half.
Yeah. I thought about this year doing some pig classes. I don't know though. Like just on my pigs.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah, that would be good.
All right, kids, this is what's going on. Like, I figure I'm doing it with the YouTube channel now. If I could get some people up here, make a little money on it off of my pigs.
So
anyway.
I know you saw the episode a few back where I had Tiffany on as the mobile trailer going around. She's been working with State of Oklahoma's FFA, and she's been going around and actually doing demonstration at major FFA events, like bringing the trailer out and doing live slaughter breakdown right there with like the kids there present, hanging out the back of the truck. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. And she's got like the perfect rolling facility for it. So I'm like, that's exactly what you need to do with that, because it's all nice and clean and all fancy and like folds together the way her shit does. It's the perfect thing to put on the road and take out and do demonstrations. I'm like, I'm envious.
I'm sure they jumped on that immediately.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, this is perfect. No, I need to. I think my kids are getting it.
I think she's one of the few that actually does full-on processing and slaughter on site. That's actually on the road in Oklahoma at all.
Yeah, good for her, man. I don't envy that at all.
I wish there was more of us out there. I wish there was 100 more.
I wish there was. I'm glad I'm not it though.
Yeah. It's an adventure for sure. Let's see who we got here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, classes on poultry, rabbit, lambs, and hogs. That's so much easier than it is when it comes to something like wild game or even cattle.
So much easier.
Cattle's doable, but man, you've got to have a spot to be able to put it on.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a longer format class too. So that's the other thing. You got to space it out like your slaughter and your processing is going to have you got to break it out in 2 days. You're going to have like week apart, 2 week apart, something like that.
Right.
To make it work.
Tough.
Pigs
you can do a weekend.
Unless you manage to make it a thing where it's like the first half day of slaughter, and then we're going to spend a day processing the cow that I put in the cooler last week. Maybe
you go full Raise the Ray and just go pull a cow off the table.
But boy, is that going to be a day. That's going to be a day, because I know, don't know about you, but on slaughter days, not only it's days where I have to actually teach, but just a slaughter day, I don't usually want to go break down and process a full beef by myself afterwards either, especially while having to show people how to do it and actually educate the whole time, because that takes 3 times longer than just doing it.
Well, I am now aware, even though there's not a bunch of people around. Even though there's not a bunch of people around, there's my phone on
even
a
just
tripod.
Doing the YouTube. Yeah. Having to talk about it alone takes so much longer than just doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like I'm having to like also catch myself and go, all right, cool, that's done. And then in my head, I just go, that's probably important to kind of go, hey, this is why I just did this. Like, yeah.
Because we don't think about it. It's something you just do because it's a part of your normal routine. It makes your life easier. But it's not obvious to somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's those little things like that it catches me all the time. Like Brian would point shit out over the winter. He'd be like, whoa, what the hell did you just do there?
Yeah.
And I don't think anything of it. I'm like, what? Oh, butterfly and a backstrap. You do that like 25 times a day. So why would you think anything of it?
Exactly.
But you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know what people don't know, I guess would be the way.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you know, but you don't know what they don't know.
We take for granted that some of these things are obvious, even though we're just so entrenched in it that
we're not. Yeah. We're almost not humans at this point. We're just something different.
Wait, you know humans?
What?
You know humans?
No, my new biggest thing though is during time lapse. Like if I know it's going for a while and I walk past the camera to like grab a tool or get on the other side of the tractor or do whatever, I'll just like get like right into the camera and smile because I know, like I already know it's going to be time lapse. So you just see me running around like crazy and then just full face. It's like, oh Jesus.
Be your weird video signature.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we're coming up on an hour, so what can everyone follow you on?
RenegadeButcher.com is going to be the way to go. I know Kyle put the link to the Telegram group, which is the main place we hang out. And then if you want to follow me on Nostr, if you're on that, that's the pub keys down there too. Or you can just search for Josh at RenegadeButcher.com, which is my email address, and you can find me on Nostr there. So
you can't rattle off your pub key?
No, I don't have it memorized yet. If I find it, I can read it. No, nobody would be able to follow along with that bullshit. But all the links for that are on RenegadeButcher.com. There's a tab where you can go find like social and people I know, and it's got all that stuff together on there. So it's a pretty good place to find it all in one place. Or if you go to the Telegram group, there's a whole resource section, billboard section where you can find all that too.
Yeah.
For everybody in the community that wants to partake. So that's the cool thing. I can't talk enough about that Telegram group. That's where all the brainstorming happens.
Brainstorming.
So something.
No, there are some awesome conversations that happen in there. Like I said,
there's also some shenanigans at times, though. But we do have fun.
Yeah,
we have fun, but there is a lot of learning.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, he spent like what, probably 45 minutes just bullshitting back and forth about electric fence, trying to like.
Yeah, I probably spent a good 40 minutes talking about it and like just kind of going through the whole system. And then once I had it all figured out, I still sent a picture of my setup just to fry Brian's brain.
How does that even work?
I don't know. I don't know how it works. Sometimes it doesn't. It looks like a rat.
Damn it, Jim! I'm a butcher, not an electrical engineer.
Yeah, let me tell you, in my electric fence video that's coming up, you're probably not going to see my charger. It's because I got wires coming in everywhere from every different direction just to make it work.
Nice. Now I'm just like morbidly curious.
It's in your chat. I'll send it to you directly.
I'll go back and look. I'll find it. You guys were chatty. I finally caught up after that.
We were. We went
like
off
2 hours. I was like out in the weeds, and I come back to it, and I'm like, just like scrolling. Like, I don't know what happened here, but something about electric fence. Holy shit!
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it. Yeah, that was a good little 20-minute episode.
But the point is, you got it back up and going. You got it working.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that's it's something. Farming.
Woo. Yep. It's always some shit breaking.
Well, there's that. I took a picture last night of me walking into the pasture to finish up all the tightening of like the electric lines, replacing insulators, stuff like that to get that main paddock ready for cows to go in. And I was like, as angry as I was an hour ago, this is the best office on the planet. This is how I make my money. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll take every headache that comes with this, all the manual labor, everything that goes with it, because this is my job. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, it's worth it.
Yeah, worth it to you. That's what matters.
Yeah. But so you can go ahead and watch that video I just put up. If you're on this YouTube channel watching right now, you can follow and like and subscribe to Backwoods Butcher 603 on everything. So that's Instagram. I'm on Nostr as well. TikTok. I have let TikTok kind of go by the wayside. I started it. I put up 2 videos, and I haven't touched it since.
I've been slacking on it this week too, but hopefully I'll get back going with my my data connection issues.
I'm trying to like every one of your videos when it scrolls past. I'm like, oh, I know him.
Yeah. I haven't done a new one in like a week. I've been bad, but every once in a while you kind of just gotta like take a step back for a second and like recollect yourself.
Yeah.
You know? I know. Well, I don't have like when you come back to it after a while, you feel like you lost all your momentum and you got like start over. Yeah. But you know, you still have to like be human. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't have like you have like the question of the days and stuff like that. I don't have any of that yet, and I haven't figured out if I want to do it.
That honestly helped me to be more consistent with it because I had to give myself something to actually a reason to be. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But Well, all right, folks. That was our Whitetail Deer episode. So I appreciate all you guys for being here, and glad you got a chance to meet the critter.